Hello, welcome, and good day. We hope most of you are from the UK and European region, although there are international participants as well. I introduce myself briefly. I'm the founder and CEO of Unicom Seminars, which we have been running nearly 35 years, and also founder of a related financial analytics company called Optiris Systems. I've been an academic all my life. Only recently, having retired, I've become a kind of entrepreneur, wannabe, a geriatric entrepreneur. In Unicom, we have been looking at various aspects of software and software development. And this is from the very early days it started. So development of software and software life cycles, my life cycle also been involved with that. So with that very brief introduction to myself and our company, I want to move on to our panelists. First panelist is Marolene Pordo. She has been organizing this whole event, or she has been the main, if you like, thinker and helper on this event. So over to you, Marolene.
Okay, well, thank you, Gautam. Well, I'm Marjolein Pordon. I'm 36 years old and live in the Netherlands, in Arnhem. And I've am 5 years now in software testing and also 3 years in software testing on low code. And that's kind of got me going, and I'm very passionate about it because it's not just testing. There's so much more around it, like working agile, issues with performance and security. So it's quite broadened my horizon as a tester, and that's what makes me very passionate about low code. And I've worked with quite some platforms now, bigger and smaller platforms, and I see that there are some similarities on the issues that are raised with development on low code. And that's why I'm also speaking on conferences, because I want to exchange experiences with other people working with low code. And that's also why I'm here, because I want to learn from my other panelists and hope to have some good questions from you guys to answer.
Absolutely. Organizer, I can't get myself in the view, in the bigger picture. Somehow it has changed. Can you please sort that for me on GoToWebinar? All right. So the next person is Chetan. Chetan, you introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Chetan Arora and I am based out of Delhi, India. I work as a head of testing, optimization and innovation function in NatWest Bank, which is essentially a UK headquartered bank. So the purpose of my function in particular is to look at the trends in the market and see if they can solve the testing problems or the QA problems that we have within the bank. And some of the areas we look at is around the technical products and offerings in the external market. So one of the area which we have been looking quite closely is around the low code automation and see how low code tools we can get into the organization and solve some of the complex challenges around resourcing of automation specialists around that. So it's a very specific use case that we have experimented on. Now, as for me, I have done the software development and testing for last 20 years. I started as a developer, then transitioned into testing. So my love for coding is quite natural, but still I'm more comfortable doing low code or the no code sort of stuff as compared to coding. So that's about me. Back to you, Gautam.
Thank you. Now over to you, Monju. You are based in Australia right now.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thanks, Gautam. Hello, everybody. Good evening. I'm happy to meet you all. I'm Manju from Sydney, and I have 13 years of experience in software testing. I worked across different domains, telecom, Salesforce, and SAP. I've also worked on the traditional framework-based automation, and I've been using low-code automation for the last 3 years. So basically, I know what it is on both the sides, and I'm very happy to be here and share my experiences and to learn from all the experts here. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Manju. And our next panelist is Paulo from Spain. So, Paulo, over to you.
Thank you. So, hello everyone. My name is Paulo. I am a Brazilian software developer working as a tech lead here in Lisbon. I have about 9 years of experience in low-code solution. And to be honest, in the beginning of this path with low-code, I didn't like that much because I really thought that would be something that wouldn't be great for my career. But at the end of these 9 years, I look behind and I look back, sorry, and I see how this low code and the software that I used to work improved a lot. And in all of these years of experience, there was nothing that we couldn't do with the low code. So today I have no doubt that I cannot develop traditional again. It's just too much work, and it seems that that doesn't work. So low code, I think for me and for the business, that has a lot more value, and that's why I love it.
Okay, that's wonderful support for low code and if you like promotion of low code. I also feel the same way because it gives power to the citizen developers. And now we have questions from the panelists first. And the first question is from Monju and then Asum. So what is one best thing about low code automation? Essentially, Monju is asking if you had to mention one thing, what would you say? So let's go to the panelists again. And of course, Monju's question. So let's start with Marlene and then Chetan and anybody else. Marlene.
I'm muted. Sorry, Manju, do you mean with low-code automation, the test automation tooling from low-code? Yes, okay. Well, what I like about it is that you can have like product owners or business people also test applications. It's very visual. You do not have the need to know test automation knowledge, programming knowledge, and it brings testing and quality to the business. So it's much more their thing. It's not just that you have to convince them that it needs to be done. They can do it themselves. And I think that is one of the huge advantages of automation with low code.
Okay. Chetan?
Yeah. So if I have to just pick out one best thing, then probably I would say just the best word for describing low code is the democratization of software development or testing, because platforms like low code has the potential to get everybody involved in the development of a customer facing software, right? So whether it's a technical or a non-technical, a programmer or a non-programmer, a business analyst, so all personas in the software development can actively contribute in the design and the development of the software. So that's how I see the benefit for a low-code thing. That's just one, right? But there could be many more.
Okay. Paulo.
In the development side, I think that one of the things that I really like the best is because that is much quicker to understand. It's much quicker to learn how to develop. It's not that you really don't need to have any skill of development, but it kind of put everyone in the same level when using those kind of tools, because it's a new way to develop things, and gives everyone the opportunity to start in the same level.
Okay, sounds very good. Actually, it's very interesting, Monju's questions, because she has not only asked for what is good, she has also asked for something is bad, rather than calling what was. So the next question is, what is one bad experience about low-code tools? So tell us, not everything can be good.
I think one of the bad things about it's got restrictions, because if you code, you can do almost anything you like, and when you use the tool, it's restricted to what the tool offers. But still, how much should a developer, a product owner, need to do in test automation or in low-code development? So I think it's not really a big problem, but if I need to mention one bad thing, I think it's that.
And I believe that probably with a low-code solution, addressing security may be a bit challenging, given that the way these components or these reusable routines are designed and created. So there's a security, one is the technical security, but also from a governance perspective, how do we bring in the consistency in terms of creation of application? So security and governance combined together, I think some of the aspects that we have to put some kind of a guardrails around it to make sure that low-code solution addresses these problems.
Okay, Paulo?
Yeah, one bad thing. I tend to agree with Marjolein. When we are using a low-code platform, we need to be aware that we need to strict follow the rules that they are, or the guidelines that they are providing us, because sometimes some companies or some developers try to deviate a bit from that, and that's when everything starts to become more harder to maintain.
Okay, actually, Monju, since you posed the questions, you might have an answer, particularly for the bad ones. Let's see what you had in mind.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you guys for answering this. My point of view is, I think one important thing, what according to me was like the cost involved, right? Because when you want to use a low code tool, nothing much comes with, see, although there are some free versions available for some tools, but I think with the pro version or with the licensed version, we get a lot of features. So I feel that cost is one thing that, okay, not every company may be ready to offer, or if an individual wants to practice, I think that would be one thing that what is not really very good experience about it.
Good. Okay, I actually have a comment at the very end about the bad thing. I have no experience of using low-code tool, so it is an assumption, if you like, Sarmais. But I feel that a person or a citizen developer doing low-code, applying low-code, might get a false sense about how that they know all about how to organize programming and how to organize their queries in a programmatic way. But it might give you a false sense that way. Actually, with this, I want to move on to my own question that I have, and it is like this. So how important it is to have a visual programming, particularly how important it is to have a drag and drop interface. Hi, Marlene.
Yes, well, if I speak for myself, I love software testing. but I'm not really a programming kind of girl. I think that's too abstract for me. And when it's visual, then I understand also what the developer is doing. So if I see the business flows and I see how the application is built and the screens are made in, for example, where I work with now, OutSystems, I understand what is happening. And if I got a whole lot of code, then I need to translate it for myself, have kind of a dictionary next to it. What was this? What was that? But when it's visual, I can also explain to the business, well, this is what your application is doing. Is this what you want? Can you see what it's doing? Because it most starts with a starting point, and then you have a decision point. Is it working or is it not working? True or false things. Those are really understandable for everyone in the business, everyone in the company. So what I think is important about it, that even the cleaning lady on the floor can understand what you're doing. You can explain it to anyone, and it makes the cooperation easier. People are more involved, and I think that's important. And with drag and drop, it's easy because I think a lot of people know things like WordPress, where you can make your own website. Anyone who did that, it's easy. You just grab something that's also visual. I need a question form where people can make questions for me on my website. I just click on that. I like the layout. I change some things and it's done. I don't have to do anything else than just grab it and use it.
Okay, sounds fair enough. Chetan, let's go through.
Yeah. So I think for the visual programming, all I can say is pictures speak 1,000 words. So if something is that we can visualize, then it's fairly easy to understand, and that's how the human brains are wired. So, but on a separate note, right? So the low-code platforms usually come with a visual interface that provides drag and drop, but there are a number of tools in this space, and I'll just name one of them, Tricentis, for example, right, which does not comes with a visual interface, but you could write a natural language code or a natural language simple English statement. I think that is where these tools will go at some point, where we can build up cognitive abilities or some kind of a natural language processing. And that is where I believe we have to deviate from the visual interface, because if we get too restricted onto visual interface, then giving the ability to people write in simple English language might become difficult. So that is where I don't believe that visual programming is must have requirement. It's a could have or a should have type of a thing.
Good. Paulo and Monju.
Yeah, so I was remembering the time that I was a traditional developer, that I used to develop in traditional, and at that time using Windows Forms C#, we had already a kind of drag and drop tools to use. So I think at that time people had already understood that how important is this, how much time we can save having those kind of drag and drops um, containers or components already done. Because if we do that in the traditional, you write so many lines of code and you have to run the code in in some environment to visualize what you have done. And when you are using a low-code platform that provides you this kind of interface already, it's just quicker because you can in 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 the development mode you can already see what you are doing. So that's my point. I think I agree with all of you that is much quicker to understand, and also to show to the people that are not really developers, that doesn't really understand the logic, but you can show them a few things, and that is much easier to understand because it's visual.
Very good. Manju?
Yeah, so like when this question came, I just went back to the days that where I was developing using a low code platform. It was with Velocity, right? So what we have is we have a series of like, drag and drop features. And when you put everything, it comes like an Omni script, or they call it like Omni Studio now. So what I felt that time when I was doing that, I felt really powerful, like what I'm doing, because it will show me visually what I'm slowly building upon, right? And you feel happy, like at the end of the day, like, when you see what you have finally built, like, as a, like with the help of visual programming. So I think it is very important, and it gives a full picture to all of us, like what Paulo mentioned. I think that is a very good thing that I agree upon. And it always makes you powerful, I feel, like, what you want to see what you have been doing as a visually with the help of this low code.
Thanks very much, Manju. So I think we have taken all the questions from the panelists. Actually, one of the focus of this AMA or Ask Me Any Question or webinar has been what we call demystification. There are things that a newcomer might want to know. Some participants have many questions that come up. And another comment I would make, because at the very beginning, I've also started life as a programmer, as if you like, now it's called software developer. And I had a colleague sitting next to me who actually had an impressive idea that he, on his board, the wall, he had a picture of a bug. And he said, I'm a programmer, and this is a software bug. It gives me job security. Now, it makes a very important point that when software development or programming started, people immediately think of bugs and all the testing and all that follow. So I just want to mention on the way the relationship between, if you like, development and testing. They are intimately related, one goes with the other. So first question from the participant is, do you learn about codeless and how customization work? How do you learn about that? Could you go one at a time? Hi. Marilyn?
Yeah. So I think that with customization, it's like, well, I usually use the comparison with Disney, and I use then a comparison in video, because Disney, when it started, used animations, and it was really hard and expensive to make all those drawings. So they reused drawings and sometimes even complete scenes in other movies. And it's the same with low code. You have a basic, like a sketch of what you're making in code. For example, the question form that I just mentioned, and you can use it, but you can also change it. You can choose which fields you do want in or you don't want in. You can add colors or a logo. So just like Disney did with animation movies, you can reuse what's already been built, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And you use customization to make it suit your own company.
Sounds good. Chetan?
Yeah, I think if you look at any of the low code tools, so they are essentially an ecosystem, I would say. They're not just one tool with a set of features, and they have organically growing feature list, which keeps on basically growing with every passing day. So what it does is, so you start with a codeless platform. What you do in your presentation or the PPT to create a workflow. So just think about it as an enhanced prototyping platform where you create the similar kind of a flow, but there's an underpinning code which sits and that's not transparent to you in most of the cases, right? So that's how you start building the solutions. And once you build that solution, you make it available for the other fellow users to use and grow that as a ecosystem, right? So that's how I see that customization working onto it.
Paolo?
I think in the customization part, for low code, it's something that is, organic, as Chetan was saying, because even though it's something so easy that you can easily copy from one place to another, and that's sometimes the way that you reuse some kind of the logic is built in there. But my thing is we also need to be careful when doing kind of different customizations, because they need again to follow that guidelines, because if you try to sidetrack a bit of those guidelines and those patterns that those tools provide us, things can start to be out of control and start to get more difficult to manage. So it's important that sometimes when we or a company use or choose to use a low code platform, we need to have that company on board to follow those guidelines and make the customizations following that.
Okay. Manju, you have something to add?
No, I think the team summarized everything. And one thing I'd like to add is like the whole learning experience of low code comes with customization, right? And how you adopt it to your needs. And I think that is where, it's very important to make the customizations work properly as per the standards. Yeah.
Okay, we have next two questions from the participants, which are slightly different, but I will ask both of them at the same time because you could answer them. So first question is, will low-code solutions replace MS Office, Microsoft Office automation? And the second one is low-code the answer to all our test automation challenges? They're different in the sense the first automation is about all aspects of automation. But please, shall we go again to Marlene and the same sequence, Marlene?
Yes, thank you. Well, I must admit that I tried to read in a little bit on MS Office automation, but it's not my expertise. So I hope some of the other panelists can answer that one. For the other one, I don't think that low code is the answer to all our test automation challenges. I do think that they can help make some things easier because it's visual and because it's more you can make it more things of the team, and with that I think it solves the solution that you always need a test automation engineer who fully understands the system and the business, because a product owner or a business analyst can also do a bit of the automation. So it solves a bit of the problem, but not definitely not all the problems.
Chetan?
In true sense, right? MS Excel was the first low-code platform that I used, right? So it's fair. It's fair to say that Microsoft products like MS Excel or MS Access were the initial low-code platforms, right? You could develop great applications using MS Access. In my days, it used to be a very powerful database, right? Quite commonly used as well. So that is what it is. So MSX Microsoft products are a low-code platforms in some form or size, but they are designed for a specific purpose. Now, as the technology complexity and the business needs have grown, there is a need to have more evolved platforms to cater to business needs and technology needs. And that is where the newer set of platforms are coming into use, right? So what you see as a MSX is they're not going away. They are not. Microsoft Automation will continue to exist. They offer seamless integration between their product sets, which in a low code you could do that, but that's not that resource and time efficient, I would say, right? So that is where the Microsoft Automation will continue. Then the second question was, is low code answer to the test automation challenges? Is that the right question, Gautam?
Correct, yeah.
Right, and that's my favorite question, right? Because the challenges for test automation are different for everybody, right? So there are certain set of technology challenges, right? So some of the tools may work with web-based applications, some may work with desktop-based application, and even there are legacy applications like mainframes, AS400 databases, and the newer SaaS products, right? So most of the testing tools are designed with a tester in mind, and as a result, they are fixed to a particular technology. For example, just to put this into context, if you think about Selenium, right, it works best with web-based technology. But if you want to use Selenium with desktop-based application or mainframe or a SAP, that is where you will find lots and lots of problems. So that's a technology limitation with the current set of automation tools. Now, does this get addressed with low-code tools? Yes, it does. And that's where I see the low-code tools like UiPath, for example, right, offers a distinct advantage where it could cater to a broad range of technology and not few. That's first. The second is the management of the testing automation, right? The management of a test automation, the first question that every management asks is a return on investments. How much time and resource or money I'm going to save after test automation? And unfortunately, our traditional test automations have an upfront cost in creation of the automation assets, and which is a significant cost, and that gets paid off as you execute more and more often. And that's an ROI curve, right? With the low-code platforms, this cost comes significantly down because you're able to develop more automation in the shortest span of time. So that is where the second benefit will come. And if things like DevOps and Agile, this becomes a real must-have thing for the tool chains. Now, the last bit is around what I say is a resource availability. If you look at any job portal and you look at the quality automation specialist type requirements over the last one, you will be amazed to see that there are far too many requirements in the number of people available in the industry. And that is where the democratization was the key, and involving everybody, whether it's a manual tester or a business analyst, into development of automation. And that is what gets addressed through low code platform. So that's sorry, a long-winded answer to a short question, but that's how I see this thing.
Well done, Chetan. Yeah. Paulo?
Yes. Maybe I will not be able to answer about the testing automation because it's something that I'm still working on. But as a developer and using a low-code platform, I agree with Chetan. Like Excel was the first low-code platform I think that I work on. So, and I see a lot of companies working using Microsoft products. So I don't think, a low code will replace that, because if you have something that can be done in any of those Microsoft products and that's cheaper for you, you probably are going to use that. So I don't think that is, replace is the right word, but as soon as the company necessity starts to grow and you need to do something more robust that cannot be achieved with using any of these Microsoft products, for example, you need to start looking outside and see how you can grow faster and I think here it's when low-code platforms start to make difference.
Very good. Manju, something to add?
Yeah, probably I'd like to take the second part of the question, right? Is a low code is a solution for all our automation. So let us, like, for example, if you take my Salesforce domain where I'm working on, what are the major challenges that we are facing here is navigating through frames, right? And then you have some lightning, like my Salesforce lightning place where it is very tough to, because it will have a lot of iframe basically. And then these systems are highly configurable, right? And the field locators will change between the organizations. Say, for example, if I'm in a test organization and like I also have a production like instance for software testing, I'll not be able to reuse the same script because the field locators and paths differ between organization. So comparing these challenges, if you ask, is the low code is the only solution? I would not say like it cannot answer all our automation challenges, but it can definitely address few, right? So like there is always like you have some pros and cons of like low code tool as well. So definitely, I mean, according to me, the low code is not a complete solution for all our automation challenges. Like of course it depends on domain and other things, but yes.
Very good. There are some more questions from the participants, but I wanted to go a bit wider. There's one more question which has come just now to say that is low code, in order to use low code and no code, is essential to know Python or R. So what would you say? Programming. Marley.
Well, I think Chetan was saying something, but he was muted.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry. I was just saying that's the reason why we had low code at the first place, because we never wanted to learn programming languages, right? So
okay. That's a good, nice, short answer. So the answer to this particular person is no, you don't need to learn. It actually low code gives you the power to navigate or go past that. Yeah. So I want to actually get some questions that morally you didn't post any particular question, but you found a very interesting one.
Yes,
One
Gautam. Wait, I think Manju had an addition
hi,
to the Python.
sorry, I better take a look at this.
Okay, no worries, no worries. I was just like I want to add a point to that,
Yeah.
where you want to learn Python or R. I'll tell you if like if you want to use the tool very in an outward fashion, right? I mean, for example, you take it, you automate some simple scenarios. You need not learn Python or anything. But in case if you want to learn how the automation tool is built, okay, because for example, if you see all the back end of that would be like, for example, the tool what like we are using in our company, it's a Copado robotic testing. If you see the framework of that is written in Python, right? So sometimes it feels like now I'm started slowly to learn it. So if you want to deep dive into the tool, how it works, if you want to make your own keywords, if you want to make your own custom libraries, so definitely learning Python would be an added advantage. So it is always like, I mean, I would say that it is good to learn, like if you get a chance to learn.
Sounds good. So you have got more, it's just more questions. So let's ask Paulo. Do you have any comment?
Yes, I think in order to you to be a great developer and maybe a complete developer, I know that maybe the goal of the low code is not to learn or to need to learn those language programming, but if you want to do great in that, I think you need to learn that. You need to understand at least how that works behind or under the hood, because if you don't do that, you will we you will always be strict with the tool that you are using, and you don't know what's happening behind, and if something sidetrack and you just don't know what to do.
Very good. Okay, as I said, I'll come back to a few more questions from the participants. But Maureen had given us a set of questions which are very interesting, and I want to go back topic by topic. And one particular one is about the market for low code, so low code market. I want to sort of give my comment on that, and then I want to make it open to others. So low code, no code are used, of course, for in the domain of finance, as you can see Chetan is doing, or something related to financial planning. But it also have got many applications in CRM and few others. So we have a large number of suppliers of low-code platform. So, and indeed there is a Gartner report which says the growth of low-code, no-code in the domain of finance is going to accelerate in the next few years. So with those comments, I would like to turn the questions to starting with Marilyn and then the usual sequence. Marilyn.
Do you mean the questions that are below low-code market?
Yeah.
Okay, so well, one of the questions is, will low-code software put developers out of a job? And I think Paulo already mentioned a few reasons why it won't. Because even if you are a low-code developer or a citizen developer, you need to know what you're doing. Even when I'm driving my car, I want to know the basics of what I'm doing. If the car has a light on the dashboard, I want to know what I need to do to solve it. I want to know how to put air in my tires. I need to know more about the car than just getting in. That's who I am. And it's also with me with my work with low-code testing. I'm not very much having an affinity with test automation, but I am learning. I'm learning Python, I'm learning Selenium, just to know what it is that my coworkers do and what is happening in tools that I'm using, because that gives me also an understanding that when something is wrong, what is wrong. Because if I make a test and I do not know how a test automation tool works, then it might be that my test is wrong or that I'm using the tool wrong. And then I can go to the developer and say, well, my test says that something is wrong, but he can not find anything wrong with the software. And that's true because I didn't know how to use the tool, or I didn't know how to make my tests in that tool. So that then there's nothing wrong with the code. But if I do not know that, then I'll still go to the developer and say, well, something is wrong. So I really think that it will not put developers out of a job, because there's still the need of knowledge of development. What are the best practices? And you just do not learn that from reading the manual and just do what you're told in the manual. So I think that's also what Paulo mentioned a bit.
Well, Paulo is a developer, so let's go to Paulo.
I think I have two thoughts about this. One is, it's, all the developers and it's not that sorry, all the professionals, we know sometimes that got changed, right? So today in the project that I work on, I'm as a role, I'm a tech lead, but I write the user stories, and that's kind of business analyst role. But I used to help with that. I used to help with the testing. So we do so many things. And my first thought is, even though everything with low code or no code was working perfectly, our client, our customer, today still don't know what they want. So they still need someone to help them to achieve something, to achieve what they are looking for. So I'm there for it. Like I can entitle myself as a developer, as a tech lead, but I'm a consultant. I'm there to help the customer, whatever is the platform that's being used. And also the second thought is you will always need someone to build those kind of tools. So I think that there is space to everyone. There are people or companies that, low code is not applicable because they cannot do what they are trying to achieve with low code. So they will still need developers and so on. So I believe that's space for everyone.
Right. Actually, next one question on the low-code market is low-code software used by business users growing? So application are applying low-code by business developers, is that growing? And I have a comment, I'll add it last. So same way, Marilyn?
I didn't hear the question quite right. Is it the are you seeing any trend with particular business sectors? Because
No,
my sound was flaky.
low-code software used by business users growing.
Yes, thank you. Because my sound was flaky. Yes, I think it is a bit, but if I see in my current project, we work with OutSystems and we have a few developers that made the old system and know a lot about the business. So they are definitely on the business user side, but they're also the ones that know quite a lot about developers. They're just senior developers, only not senior in OutSystems. I think that the market for really business analysts who are becoming citizen developers are not really as big as thought in ahead, because in my last project before this one, we had also citizen developers on the platform ThinkWise, and they were a front-end developer and two test automation engineers. So we see that the ones who are taking the courses for citizen developer are usually people with a technical background in the projects that I see.
Okay. Chetan?
Yeah, so I think to be fair, right? So the low code was designed with a business user in mind. So these platforms do offer distinct advantages if it is used by business users. But to be fair, in large scale enterprises, an initiative like this needs a lot of changing mindsets and agility in terms of how to approach the problem solving or how to do the application development. And that is, I think, what is creating more impediments in terms of business users being able to effectively use low code rather than the tool itself, right? So that's my take on that one, Gautam.
Okay. Paulo and followed by Paulo.
Yeah, in all of these years that I have as experience using low-code software, I never saw a business analyst programming something. I do see people migrating from different areas like bioengineering or something, going to IT using the low-code platforms to develop. So this migration is happening, but again, I think I said that before, but low code doesn't mean you don't need to know the logic. And I think that's it's something that we should keep in mind. That is not everyone that is able to do this, because unfortunately, this is something that requires this special thinking. And my IT background gave me that a lot, of course. And yeah, I do believe for the other kind of areas that also have um, these logics like engineering or something, they also can leverage that to start developing, but still, I still think that some of the low-code platforms that we have in the market required a bit more knowledge about IT.
Yeah, actually, Manju, you're probably very well placed because you interact with the business users and yourself, the developer, and your experience also with TCS before. So can you comment on that, of the business users you're going?
Sure, definitely. At least I would say that there is a lot of interest that is growing to know what we are doing in test automation from the business users. Like, earlier test automation used to be like a gray area, right? Like, at least I have experienced that at the start of my career, where there would be one automation team would do something. Nobody knows what they are doing. Nobody have ever seen what they are running, right? But they like always it used to be like kind of a gray area where nobody can enter unless you have the great technical skills. I think all those are just taken away now by the low code tools, where now at least I have seen in my personal experience many business users, they want to see what we are doing. And even like you just like now having got into cloud test automation logins, you need not install even anything. It is just like a login to a website and where you will be able to see all the automation results and everything. So I definitely feel that I think now the things have changed drastically and people are interested to know about it, at least to see and to learn. Like there are people who wants to learn also. I think this is definitely, it has changed the way that it used to be.
Yeah, I think that's good. Actually, Manju, you more or less build the foundation of what I was going to say. You said about the gray area and black box. Indeed, if you go back 15, 20 years, things still haven't quite entirely changed, whereby there is an amount of tension between the developers and people who use the software for business purposes. So, and as you pointed out rightly, that low code takes away that difficulty, or put in a different way. System developers used to call, or their attitude was that of a called priesthood. Between you and God, there is a priest. Similarly, here that approach of priesthood will be taken away because any low-code or proper low-code platform can be used, as Chetan said, for business purposes directly. So you're no longer reliant on a developer who are entirely want to have it their own way. Or put another way, we have this discussion within our company of trees that the software its usage should be determined by the user specifications. In other words, sorry, I went off to another one of my hobby horse. So I would like to, we have got now nearly 10 minutes left. So I want to make a summary and of what we discussed so far. And then I would ask each one of you to have the last comment if you like. So what we discussed about low code, no code, and visual programming, I'll put it under 3 headings. What it is, low code, no code, and visual programming, why we need it, and third is how it has been implemented or done. So what is low code, no code, and visual development? From this discussion, it became clear, it has, at least that's the word, unless you see my biases, that it is a way for the business users to, citizen users as they call it, to get direct access to applications which are sort of under the programming, have been enabled by the programming models, so to speak. Why we need it? Because it makes it a conceptualization of a problem to its exploitation in the business context quicker and easier. And how it is done, we touched a bit upon it, not entirely, but the APIs and other programming interfaces and as you go in there. So these are the what, why, and how. Now, the interesting thing is that developing software and testing it are connected, very closely coupled. You can't have one without the other. And that, as I mentioned earlier, about the bug giving job security is now there. Of course, there'll be always bugs or what they call software conditions, but they'll be avoiding action. So coming back to this, what I'm really wanting to say or summarize is that low code and no code or visual programming are giving it, that was the what, why, and how part of it. With that, let me come to each one of you because we have got 5 minutes left. And Marlene, you make a statement and then I'll go over with you as you appear in the camera. Marlene, summary.
Thank you, Gautam. Well, I really learned a lot about the automation side of low code because it's one of the discussions I have at work. We need to do something with that, but we were focusing firstly on testing low code development. And I want to thank Manju and Chetan for enlightening me about the automation side of low code. So
okay. Manju?
Yeah, I would definitely say this has been a good discussion that we had. Just as a thing to summarize from my side, I would definitely say that this low code and no code is trending and it is going to be a game changer in the software industry. Like earlier, it used to be like, no, this is like a smart work we are doing, right? Where the tool does all the engineering work and we are just using it and we are just making use of it in an efficient way. So, as we say, that change is the only thing that doesn't change, and I think this change is much needed for the software industry. And I think there would be much more that is, it is yet to come in the future. So, I'm really excited to be in this industry and happy to meet you all.
Chetan?
Yep. So I think it was a very productive session. There were a lot of insights which I personally got from this session, which I will be able to take back and implement on my projects. For low code in particular as a topic, I think as Gautam pointed out for that Gartner report, which says that 75% of the software development by 2024 will be around low code technologies. So yes, it's something for future. It is here. It is where you will see a lot of traction going forward. But I understand we have a developer friend community and we have a testing friends community on this call. So for my developer friends, all I can say is yes, low code does have a future, but it is not the future of a code. The code will continue to exist, and that is why you will be needed to do more valuable and something which is of more interest to you. It just takes out that monotonous repetitive task which you used to do can be done using a low code. The high value work will still be there for the development community. And similarly for my testing colleagues or QA friends, all I can say is that you have now got a tool to quickly implement automation, and the days which we used to talk about automation first seem to be happening sometime very soon now. So all the best. I think it's a great session for today.
So, Paulo?
Yeah, to quick summarize that for me, just because of the fact that we are discussing this today, it seems for me that the path that I chose 9 years ago to go into the low code development, that the one that I was afraid of to do, was the right one because it's something that's here. It's something that showed already what is possible to do and what we gain from it. And also thank you all of you, and also for the testing part, because I think that is something in the low code part that the developers should focus on, because we indeed have more time to develop, we indeed develop things quicker, but we need to learn more about quality and how to do that in a quality manner.
Thank you very much. So before we conclude, I want to announce that, as I mentioned earlier, Unicom has been intimately involved in all aspects of software. It was first software, if you like, engineering, then now the ADT, that means Agile Development and Testing. As I mentioned earlier, that development and testing of software intimately connected, but actually managing software development to agile tech processes, business are important. So within that frame of ADT, on 7 July, we have a special session on the topic of, as you know, low code and no code. So both for the attendees who came to this, and also for you to dissipate to the wider audience, please talk about it. And finally, I want to make a comment. In a way, it comes from taking the comment that Monju made about two extremes. There's a very famous behaviorist and kind of social psychologist called Marshall. And he's a one of warning. He said, to a man with a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail. So we shouldn't be applying low code and no code in everything we can think of. With those words of wisdom, let me conclude. Thank you. Thank you, all panelists. Bye. And
Bye bye.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
all.
Thanks for having us.
bye.
Thank you so much.
Okay.